So what we have discussed in yesterday's session, we have discussed about exception handling, exception handling, and what are the techniques, like in which way we can handle the exception. We have to use try, catch, block. Then we can use multiple catches to handle different exceptions, and then we have discussed about nested try catch block. Then we have discussed about using finally block. We have discussed about throw keyword. What is the use of throw keyword? Throw keyword can, like using throw keyword, we can call or we can make an exception. Then we have discussed about throws keyword. What is the use of throws keyword? Throws keyword we can use for passing an exception.
I got interested.
So I will again explain about how we can use throws keyword. Consider
This below to is something interesting.
So consider one example. We will create one method here, public static void call exception. So in this one I am going to write throw new arithmetic exception. So what I am doing here is, I can, using this line, I can throw an exception, like explicitly I am throwing an exception. That is the use of throw keyword. So here I can say, I will take one example of compile time exception. So let's say file not found exception. File not found exception I am throwing. So it is compile time exception, that is why it is showing like exception handling here. If it is a runtime exception, we cannot see that exception here. We can only see that exception in the at the time of execution. So here I am using one exception. I am making one exception. I am throwing one exception. So if I have to handle this exception, I can keep here try and catch block. So let's say try catch block. Inside that, if I am keeping this exception can be handled. So here I can write the case for handling like exception. Here the exception is file handling, so I can write the code for handling the file not found exception. So in this line I am explicitly throwing an exception. So I am making an exception explicitly, and I am using try catch block for handling it. So if I am calling this method from main method, then I will get handling the file not found exception. So that file not found exception is explicitly throw here, and it is handling by this try catch block. So this catch block is performing. So I can specify here file not found exception. So that particular exception will be handled in this catch block. So I think everyone is okay with this, idea. So if I am not handling this exception here, just consider one situation. I'm not handling that exception in this line. So without handling, I cannot perform this code. You can see one exception is there in this method and I'm not handling it. So what we can do is, instead of handling that, we can also do one thing. We can pass this exception, we can pass to the method where we are calling this exception method. So we are calling this exception method from the main method. So I can pass this exception to the main method. For that we can use throws keyword. Throws, which exception we are passing? File not found exception. So we don't have to handle this exception here. We are passing that exception to the main method. Like, actually it is not passing directly to main method. Here, from which method I am calling this call exception, there we have to write the exception handling case. So I can write try catch block here, try catch block, then the exception is this line. So this exception I am handling in main method. So I will give here system.out.println. I'm just giving a message here. We can write any code here for solving that exception. So here I'm giving main method file not found exception is handling by main method. Okay. Exception is handling by main method. So this is one, like, this is the use of throws keyword. Throw keyword is using for make an exception or explicitly throw an exception. So we are creating an exception explicitly here using throw keyword. Throws keyword is using for passing this exception, like we exception handling, we are going to pass to the method where this method is calling. So from main method we are calling this exception method. So here in main method I can write the code for handling this particular exception. This is the use of throws keyword. So I don't have to write a specific code for handling the exception here. I can handle the exception where I am calling this exception. So in main method I have given the try catch block, and this try catch block will handle the exception. So let's run the program right now. So what we are getting? Exception is handling by main method. So this is the actual use of our throws keyword. And also, if I am not using throws, if I am not handling the exception in main method, then I can also do one thing. I can use throws keyword here, throws file not found exception. So right now the problem is, I am from here, that exception is created, that exception line is created, but we are not handling it here. We are passing it to the method which is calling this particular exception method. So that exception method is calling by main method. So here I have to write the code. Actually here I have to write the code for handling the exception, but here also we are not using, we are just passing that again back to the back to where main method is calling. Actually main method is by default calling by the JVM, so this exception will go to that JVM. So what will happen is, this exception is not going to handle by anyone. It will terminate the line of block of this program flow. It will terminate the program flow. So if I'm trying to add any statements here, like main method is executing, then what will happen means, let's try the program. We are not getting the message which we have given after this exception, because this exception is not handling by anything, like anyone. We have not given the code for handling this exception, so this line is not going to execute. So this is the actual use of throws keyword. And throw keyword is explicitly throwing an exception. So here I am passing this compile time exception. Runtime exception also we can pass in the same way. Arithmetic exception. So while giving runtime exceptions, actually we don't have to do anything, because only compile time exception will make a trouble. Here I have changed that exception to runtime exception, so I cannot see anything here, right? Like,
Yeah.
so we will try to run this program. What is happening? The main method is calling this method. In that method, one runtime exception is explicitly throwing. So it is not mandatory that runtime exception is not mandatory to um, handle here. While we have used a compile time exception, it was showing that we have to give that throws keyword here. But for runtime exception, we were not using any kind of like, it is not showing any mandatory option for handling the exception here. And also we will just try to handle the exception. Try. In that try catch block, I will keep this explicitly throwing exception, runtime exception. Okay, so runtime exception is time exception is handling. So let's run the program now. Okay, we are getting runtime exception handling message and main method message. So program is starting from here. First it is calling this exception method. In this one, runtime exception is explicitly throwing, and I am handling that there itself. I will just remove this right now. I only have this runtime exception. Can I handle that exception from main method right now? So this code is getting runtime exception that I will keep in try catch block. So in this try catch block, in the try, I am keeping that method call, and I will keep here handling handling runtime exception by main method. So this we will try. So we have given that exception handling code in main method, and it is runtime exception. So I'm running the program. We are handling that exception from main method. So in this way also we can handle the exception. In this way also we can handle the exception. So runtime exceptions, I don't have to use throws keyword. It is not mandatory to use throws keyword here. But compile time exceptions, it is mandatory that we have to use throws keyword to pass the exception, so that we don't have to write the code for handling the exception in the exception method. We can either implement the exception handling in our method exception method, or in our method where the exception method is calling. So this is the one thing we have discussed in the last. So right now we will start our discussion on file handling. So you can also create a package for file handling and a class. So what is a file? File handling is the topic we are going to discuss. What is file? What is file? Make it clear. Collection of data. Okay, but anything can be a collection of data. What is a file? What is that?
Carrying of data.
What is the text? What is the text? Text file. Even I am writing something in a paper also. a collection of data I'm storing there, right? In a file, in a paper. Is that a file in computer? Then what is a file means? I cannot call a paper data in a paper as a file. Then what is the difference? Where we are storing the data? So I can create a file in a computer where I can store n number of datas. N datas I can store, right? So file is something which is stored in a computer to store which contains n number of datas. Correct. How many type of files you know? Which stores some data? PDF, then TXT, then image is also file, but I cannot right now we cannot take that as separate data, right? We were discussing about separate data, kind of like primitive data, or where we can store some primitive data kind of files. So doc, then anything else? Java is Java file, right? That is different. Huh. I'm saying primitive data I'm storing. Primitive Excel, Notepad. What is the type? TXT only, right? Okay. So lot of files we know where we can store some datas. This datas can be message, number, anything. Correct. So as simple as if we are discussing, we can say string datas I can store, number datas I can store, floating datas I can store, character datas I can store, right? All primitive data types in a simple way. Otherwise, if we are talking about different files, video files are there, image files are there, lot of different files, graph files will be there. Correct. Lot of different files are there. So we will take the simple one because we cannot use those kind of files in here, right, for programming right now. So let's take one normal file, TXT. In TXT, what are the things I can store? Only text, numbers, anything I can store, right? Let's say I have a file, input.txt. One input file is there. In that file, some data are there. How can I create this file? In how many ways we can create a file? Come on. In how many ways we can create file? We can go to that particular folder, right click, new, we can create a file there. Correct? In command prompt we can create file. Correct. mkdir is what? Like that is not aware of everyone. Like so in command prompt also we can create files. Folders, files, everything we can create. In Java program also I can create a file. How we can create a file? For that in Java we have one class. Class name is file. Using this class name I can create an object of particular class. No, object of particular file. Class name is file, right? So objects will be representing each files. It can be input file, output file, n number of input files or n number of output files. For all files we will represent one object. Then only I can use that in Java, right? Everything we are considering as objects. So file is also a real world entity that we will create as an object in our Java. Then we can use any operation on that. Getting what I am saying? So file is a real data storing element where, like, if I have to use that in our Java, I have to create an object for that particular data. So this is the class where I have to create the object and I have to specify the file. The file, this file is existing inside our directory or our folder. Getting my point? So let's try to create a file object. How can I create a file object? File I have to import then. So it is input file. So input file equal to new Correct? What we have to give here? Can you see that? What is that string item? Path name and file name. How can I give that path name and file name? Yes, the data type is string. So here I have to give the path name and file name. Where you have to create the file? We will create the file in the same package. So how can I get the direct path of this package? You have to right click on the package, show in System Explorer. So in that, open that package, click on this portion. Can you see any other items here? Only Java files are there, right? Whatever Java file is there inside this package, that we can see here. So come here, copy this path, paste it in the string, and we can add /input.txt. This is the file which we are going to create. Getting my point? So path we have specifying. After that we are specifying the name. Any doubt? Yes or no? So after this, so a file object is created, right? File object is created, but can you access the file? File is not created. File object we have created, because even like in Java, without object I cannot do any operation. So first we are creating the file object, then on that we will do any operations. So if I have to create the file, what can I do here? Input file dot, there is a method called create new file. What is the error? Compile time exception. So if there is no path, or if there is no item inside this string, can I create a file there? No, right? Okay, what I am saying is, if there is no path, so I am just taking this path. Okay, can I perform this file creation? I will handle that exception. So I am handling that exception. So I am giving this message also inside that, and I am performing the code. Will it create a file here? Why it is not creating a file? While this code is not performing? Why this code is not performing? Why this code is not performing? We have not specified any path. Without specifying path or file name, how the file will be created? Getting my point? So that is why that exception is like occurring here, and we are handling that. Correct? So let's give the file details. I given all the details, path and name. Now we will run this program. Is there anything like why it is not performing any operation? No exception is occurring, and we will go and check our folder. Can you see a file here? Automatically file is created, right? With the help of which method? Okay, I will also change one thing. I deleted that file.
see, if I am not specifying this path and name here, then exception will occur, right? If exception occur, like exception is initiating, then this line of code will not perform. Yes or no? This line of code will perform only if this exception is not occurring. Understanding what I am saying? Do you have any doubt in that? Because that is what we discussed in exception handling. Correct. So what will I get right now? File is created. We can go and check the file. It is created. Correct. Last time also it was created, but this message I have not given. Right now I added a message. That is the only difference. Understanding? Can I create the file again? Can I create the file again? Yes. With the same name. So let's say I'm just keeping some data here. Save. File creation operation I again performed. Is there any difference? So once file is created, then even if this code is performing, this will give true or false data. See, what is the return type of this particular method called Boolean, right? So I will print this method code. Run the code. What is happening? False. If it is false, that means what? File is already there, already existing. So what I will do is, I will change the statement. Fine. What we are getting right now? Now it is working perfectly, right? And file is already there. It is not again creating. File will be created only once. If I am again trying to create the file, it will give us false. That method will give us false. It will not create the file. Understanding? So file creation, are you understanding how file is created? Here, for that we used one try catch. Why we used that try catch? Because there is a chance of this part is getting empty. Like what if I am not giving anything inside that constructor? Then where I have to create this file? What is the file name? No idea, right? So that to avoid that exception, we have to keep this in try catch. Understanding? If I am not handling this exception, then I have to mention that using throws keyword. That is what we discussed in exception handling, right? Then, so I have created the file. Even if I am performing this code again, it will give the message as file is already created. Then, after creating the file, so we have created a file using what is the command for how we created the file? Using the object of file. Using the object of file, we called which method? Create new file. We used this for creating the file. If a file is already created, I don't have to use this. Even if I am using, it will give us Boolean value false. That's it. There is no other problem. So file is created. Correct? How can I read all the data from a file? I have to read all the data from a file. So we have to use some techniques. this is just a file object. So if I am using n files, I have to create n file object. Then only I can perform some task on that file. So that is why we created a file object. But this file object I cannot use, like this is not the only one class in Java. So for performing some reading task, read some data from a task, for performing that task we have lot of other files, other classes. Getting my point? N number of classes are there which is helping us to read the data from a file. N number of classes are there for helping us to write some data into the file. Understanding what I am saying? File object we have to create. That is what we discussed here. We are creating file object. This is not meaning that I am creating a file. This is just an object. Correct. Here I am using an object. Using this object I can create the file by this code. Then only we can see the file in our directory, right? Or folder. Correct. After creating that object, we applied create new file method. After that we can see the file is created in our directory. Correct? So after this operation, in this way I created the object of file, and I have created that file in our directory. After this I have to read some data from this file. For reading some data from a file, we have number of classes. I have already shared that class names. Can you just go through that class names and let me know what are the classes available there? Let me know what are the classes available there for reading the file. For read a file, how many classes are available? Louder. Yes, but I think almost 7 or 8 files are there. Correct. That one only. What is that? What is the first file input output stream, right? Tell me the names. Input or output streams. This is one. Then next one is what? One second, one by one. Buffered input or output stream. What is the next one? File writer or reader. Then scanner class. Then input stream, right? Stream or okay. Then buffered reader and print writer. This is like all these input items are using for reading a file. All the output items are using for what? Writing a file. So read or write. read or write techniques on file. So these many items, like not only this, more than this, many items are there, but mainly we can focus on this. And tell me what data you will get from this file input stream or file output stream. How data is taking from a file, or how data is writing into a file. One byte at a time. Correct? What is meant by 1 byte at a time? What is byte? 8-bit. All the data are storing in the form of bit or bytes, right? 1 KB, 1 MB, 1 GB, 1 TB. What is that? What is this byte? All are bytes, right? Kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte. Everything in computer is storing in the form of bytes. So here the data is transferring in the form of 1 byte at a time. So to access 1 KB data, how much time it will take? Getting my point? Getting my point? Then what about next one? Buffered input read, input or output stream. Data in chunk. What is chunk? What is chunks? Search what is chunks in buffered input stream. What is chunk in buffered input stream? What is that? What is that chunk? Piece of binary data. So it will be anywhere more than 1 bit, right? 1 byte or 1 bit, right? Getting my point? So collection of bit data or byte data. Then what is file writer or reader? How data are transferring? Data are transferring in file writer or reader. Every class is using for different purpose. So here, if I have to transfer, if I have to take the data in byte format, I can choose. What I can choose from this? File input output string. If my concern is to take the data as string, can I use any one of this? Any one of this which we have discussed already? No. What about file writer and reader? How data is transferring in? Okay, in this, the data are transferred in the form of characters, right? 1 character at a time. Character streams, okay, that is different. Character stream. Number of characters. Then, what about this one? What is scanner? For what we have used a scanner?
To view input from the user.
What is system.in? What is the use of system.in? System.in. Console. Right. Scanner class we used for taking the data from the console. That is why we used system.in. So here if I have to take some data from file, I have to give that file object in that scanner class. I can take any data from the file. Understanding what I am saying? Instead of system.in, if you are using file object, you can take any data from the file. And what type of data I can take using scanner class? String data, integer data, any data type except character. There is no particular method for character. We are taking the data as a string, and from that we are extracting the characters, right? Correct. Then, so here I can say data we can take in the form of string or any other data type. Our focus is to take the data in the form of string. So I am just giving string, but here I can take integer data also, right? Fine. Then what is next? Input output stream. How data is transferring there? Check. Make it fast. What is that traditional way? Input output stream. How the data is taking? That is my question. How the data is taking? Bytes only, right? Bytes of data. It is there, right? Correct. Then, what is next one? Data input output stream. What is data input output stream? How we can take that? How like if I am using that concept, how can I fetch the data? Primitive data types, right? How many primitive data types are there? All that primitive data types I can access using this data input output stream. Can I access string data using this data input output? No, right? What about next one? How we can take data using buffer reader? String only, right? So how many string techniques we found in this all techniques? How many string techniques are there? 2. So we will focus only two are there, right? Scanner and buffer reader. In file writer also we have, in file writer, not in reader, in file writer we have string. We will use that. In file writer we have string, but not in reader. File reader is taking the data as character. So we will use scanner, and we can use file writer, or we can use buffer reader and print writer. Getting my point? Because all the data are in string format. Understanding what I am saying? So for, like, we already created one file object, that is for input file, correct? Then I have to implement one of this technique so that I can read all the data from a file. Which technique we can use for that? We can use scanner itself, because already we know what is scanner, correct? So here we have created the file. So here we have created the file, like object is created, and here we have created the file. After that we can implement the technique for reading the data. So which technique we are using? Scanner. What is the implementation code? How can I implement this? Scanner equal to new scanner not system.in. If I am giving system.in, I will take the data from console. Here, from where I have to take the data? File. See, can you see the number of constructors? How many constructors are there in scanner class? Understanding what I am saying? So in this, can you find out file? Can you find out file? File is the object, like class name, right? So I can pass the object there. So we are giving that input object into the scanner. From there I am going to read the data. So what is that problem here? Exception. What can be the exception? If there is no file, then how can I take the file? So we have to specify all these things to program. Otherwise, there is a chance of getting exception. Our code will get terminated. That is why we are implementing this. So I will implement using try catch block. If there is a error or exception, this code will perform. I can write any code I can modify that code according to the requirement. Here I don't have any other requirement. I'm just leaving that part. Then, so scanner is also given. But if I have to use the scanner object outside the try block, can I access here? What I have to do? What I have to do? Correct? And also I can keep just a null data because it is created outside without initializing, right? So I will just initialize, like we will create number and initialize it to 0. In that way, I'm just initializing as null. But in this point, it will get initialized. Getting my point? Then only I can use this later. Later here, if I have to use scanner object, I have to initialize something. So I am initializing null. Any doubt? Okay. Then how can I take each data from my input file? So in input file I have only one data. I will add some more data. Okay, so I created something there. So we have to get all the data. Here the concept is similar to iterator. What we have used in iterator? We created iterator, and what we did in iterator? While here we are not using iterator. I'm just relating that concept with this one. So object of scanner is scanner dot we have HasNext. In iterator also we used HasNext. What is the use of HasNext method? If there is any data available, I will take the data, right? So HasNext, here we have HasNextLine also. If I have to take the data, each data one by one, each word one by one, then I can use HasNext. If I have to take one line at a time, I can use HasNextLine. Getting my point? So HasNextLine is there. So whatever the data is there in that first line, it will take as a string. How many data are there in this? Right now, how many next line data are there? How many word data are there? Are you understanding the difference? Are you understanding the difference? So that is the difference between HasNext and HasNextLine. Using HasNextLine, it will give, like, it will take the very first, it will check how many lines are left. At least one line is there, then it will give true. If there is no other lines, it will give false. Clear, right? So I have to save that file. Saved, close. So here inside this, what we will write? Any idea? I will just print that data into the console. First I will print the data from the file. We will take the data and we will print that into the console. So how can I print the data? Scanner dot, what can I use? Next line. Getting my point? HasNext is, oh, this is HasNext. Correct. HasNext is for what? To check any other lines are available there in the file or not. Next is for what? This is working similar to iterator. There is no iterator concept here, but working is similar. How many lines? If any one line is there, it will give true. We can take the that one line data. We can take using this scanner dot next line. And after that again, like it will check whether is there any other lines are available in that file. Based on that, we will iterate again and again until we are taking all the data. It will perform repeatedly, and it is printing in the console, right? Fine. So here I will print file datas are imported. Okay, let's run the program. File is already created and I am getting all the data one by one from the file. File data are imported. From where we are getting that file? From our input file. Correct. The data are coming from input file and I am printing that in console. Can you do this program right now? Do it fast. How many lines are there for implementation? You don't have to type this try catch blocks. You don't have to type that. It will auto generate. Correct. So how many lines are there? One line is here. This is second. This you have to create. Then this line, and this loop. This is a small program, right? Do it fast. Do it fast. Listen here. So what I am going to do is, I will just update all the data as some random data where palindrome data are also there. So this is a palindrome data, right? And I will add some data. So you have to take all the data from this file. This is not the task I am giving. This one I will only show you, but the task I will share later. So from this file you have to take each data and check whether it is palindrome or not. If it is a palindrome, then along with that data you have to print is palindrome in console. You don't have to update that in file. Understanding what I am saying? Take each data from the file, check for palindrome. If it is a palindrome data, you have to print that word with the. If it is not a palindrome, you have to print not a palindrome. Data not a palindrome. That data also ABBA is a palindrome, and next one is not a palindrome. In that way, it should come in the console. Can you do that right now? Do it. Do it fast. So how we can implement this palindrome logic? We don't have to create that logic. Like, can I find out reverse of a string? Is there any primitive, or not primitive, predefined way for finding the reverse of a string? Reverse method. Do you know reverse method? Predefined reverse method, reverse technique. How can I implement that? we have lot of string variants. We have lot of string variants, right? So we only have learned about normal. We have learned about normal string. What is normal string? String. In this way, can I create the object? If I have data, then I can pass the data in here, right? Correct? So in this way, we know how to create that string object. Can I reverse this data? What is the property of string? There is a property of string. Can I change any character in the string? Can I change any character in the string? If I am changing something in the string, Java will automatically create another object, because in string I cannot change any data. What is that property name? Property name. That string cannot be changed. The data of string cannot be changed. We cannot change the data. Mutable or immutable? Immutable, right? String is immutable. What the meaning of immutable is? What? We cannot change any data inside the string. If I am changing any data, it will be created as a new object. On this same object, I cannot make a change. That is the logic of string immutable. But we have different string variants also. What are the different string variants available in Java? I have shared that with you. That is already there with you, that note. String builder or string buffer. I think almost 10 variants I have shared, right? 10 variants of string. You don't have to learn all the things. Just one time read it. At least one time. So what is string buffer or string reader? Or string builder or string reader? Okay, how can I create a string builder object? String builder. Okay, then. Done. I am creating same data here also. This will be in two different memory locations, right? Because I am creating that anyway. That I am creating as an object. It will be in two different memory locations, right? Yes or no? How many methods are there with this string builder? Append. What is append method? We can add a data into the string at the end. So it will not become a new string. It will become it will add the data into the same object. It will not become a new object. In string, the problem is if I am modifying the data, it will make a new object. Getting my point? Java automatically will create a new object because string is immutable. But string builder is mutable. I can change any character in the same object. Understanding what I am saying? Don't be confused. I will show you one thing here. String builder. Here it is 1. I will create another one 2 equal to str b1. What is happening right now? How many objects are there? Listen carefully. How many objects are there? How many objects are there? Variable and object, what is the difference? Variable and object, what is the difference?
In variable, it points to the same memory location. But
so here, using variable, I am pointing to the memory location of the same object. Correct? It is not creating as a different memory. One memory is created. str b1 is pointing to that particular memory location. And I have given another variable which is pointing to the same memory location of str b1. B2 is pointing to B1 memory location. So both the variables are pointing to what? Same object, right? Can I change anything inside this one? Can I change any data inside this one? I will change B1 dot, we have reverse method. What is happening here? If I am performing some operation on string, normal string, I cannot just do like this. If I am doing like this, I also have to update that in the string, right? Are you understanding what I am saying? In this way only we can change any data in string, because string is immutable. It will create a new object. By default, Java will create a new object in this way. Understanding what I am saying? But in string builder, I don't have to do this. String builder is mutable. The data in the object will change. I don't have to create a new object for storing the result. Getting my point? String and another variance. Okay, so can I print str_b1? What will I get? What will I get? Working? Can I print str_b2? What will I get? Because before reversing, I have did like this. Sure? Everyone? So you are going to confuse. What is the result? Why? Why both str1 and str2 is printing the same? Because that is the difference between string and string builder. Because string builder is immutable. No, string is immutable. If I am trying to change something in string, it will create a new memory location and that variable will point to the new memory location. But here all other variants like string builder, string buffer, right? Next, the other one. String buffer, all these other variants are mutable. It can change its data. So if I am performing any operation like this, it will update the data in that same object itself. It will not create a new object. Getting my point? So both this str1 and str2 is pointing to the same memory location. There is no change, right? So whatever data changes are happening in that memory location will reflect in str1 and str2. Any doubt in this? Understanding what I am saying? Clear? So this is one point you have to focus while working on different string variants. String is different, string builder or string buffer, other variants of string is different. So the difference is this. Is it clear? So mutable and immutable. What is the meaning? Immutable means what? We cannot change the data. If I am trying to change the data, it will create a different object in the memory and our variable will point to that object. So from that next time onwards, that variable is pointing to different object, right? It is not pointing to the old one. Getting my point? Because I cannot update a data in a string data, string object. But if it is string buffer or string builder, both are mutable. What is mean by mutable? We can change the data in that object itself. I don't have to create. Java will not create a separate object for that. Understanding what I am saying? Any doubt? So you can use this technique. You don't have to write a program for finding the reverse of a string. You can use this technique. How can you compare one string with its reverse? Can you compare by using str_b1 dot equals strb to reverse. Can I compare in this way? Can you compare in this way? First, which block will execute? Reverse will execute, right? If reverse is executing, it will update the value in this one also, right? So both the data will be same. So I cannot use this technique. And also one thing is there, equals method in string builder is not comparing the data as like string. In string we are comparing the data using equals, right? In a string builder it is not the same operation. We can use compare to is same both there and here. But so what we can do is, whatever data is coming, I can take that into string builder. After that I can update this in our one string data also, equal to new string. In that I will pass strb1. So I am taking that string builder, right? Whatever data, like consider you are taking here the data from the file HasNextLine, correct? HasNext dot that scanner object dot next line, you are implementing this in our file program. So scanner object, you will every time you will take the data into a string builder object and you are creating string object, getting my point? Then you will like reverse, then you will reverse. How we can reverse a string? How we can reverse a string right now? strb1 dot reverse, correct? So the data is getting reversed, right? Can I convert this data into string? The result, can I convert back into string? What I have to do? Correct? Understanding what I am saying? Can you compare right now these items? If str dot, so on which object I am performing this, I am calling this equals method? String. So it is same, right? It will compare the data and both the data are string here, right? It is not string builder. None of the data is string builder, right? Understanding what I am saying? Str is also string. Reverse str is also string. Understanding what I am saying? So if it is equal, then what is that data? What I have to do? Str plus is palindrome. Else what? This is the logic for checking palindrome. You don't have, like this I introduced it because I have to show you what is the difference between string buffer or all the variants of string. Understanding the difference? So this technique you can use for palindrome checking. So this same thing, what I will do, I will go and paste it in the file program. Where we can paste this? Where I am getting each data from the file? Here, right? So paste here. Here what change I have to make? Scanner. Done. Can I run the program now? What I will get in console? Why it is not palindrome? Why it, maybe space is there. Okay, space and hyphen is there. No. Okay, I have not saved this. Okay, let me run the program again. Okay, I have not saved that update. It is working, right? Can you do the same thing again, like in your Eclipse? Idea is same, right? Only this we have changed, so it was working with that string program was working with this one. Understanding what I am saying? After this, you have to figure out how you can take the data, like this result data, whatever you are printing here. Listen. Whatever you are printing in the console, you don't have to print anything in console. Instead of that, each data you have to take back into an output file. Write into output file. That code I will share with you. You have to work out that. Don't try to copy paste, try to write down. Work out that and execute that program. Tomorrow for both the batches I will give you that whatever task I said, that I will give together, so you both can figure out that program. Getting what I am saying? So focus on how to write a code into the file. This logic you are understanding, right? How to find out, like after taking the file, after taking the data from the file, here you can see using this line you are taking the data from the file. Correct? Using that scanner.nextLine method, you are taking the data from the file. First data you will add that as string buffer, then you are converting that into like reverse order and comparing, printing, right? But at last what you have to do is this item you don't have to print in the console, you have to write that into a output file. So if output file is required, means we have to create an object of output file. How we created an object of input file?
But we have to add this into the
Output file. So how we created the input file? In the same way, I have to create output file. Where I have to create output file? Before this loop. Because while taking the data itself, I am performing all the operation. One line I will take, I will check whether it is palindrome or not, and I am printing. Another data, and next data I am taking, checking palindrome or not, I am printing in console, right? So at that point itself, first line, checking palindrome, I will add that into output file. I don't have to print that into console. Understanding what I am saying? Getting my point? First line is taking, checking for palindrome, writing that into output file. Second line I will take from input file, perform the logic, give it into, like write that into output file. This is what we are going to do. So before this loop we have to create output file, right? Understanding how we can create output file? File output. Then what is the name of output file? Output.txt. So if it is not created, then I have to create it, right? How can I create a file? Output file dot create new file. Then what I have to do? Try catch is implemented. Then like after creating input file and after creating the object of input file and after creating the file, what we have did? Think. After creating the object of input file, we created that file in the directory also, right? After that, what we have did? Okay, check the program. What we have did? Here we have created the object. Here we have added that into our. What we have did? What is that scanner? What is that scanner? Use of scanner? Reading input, right? So we have to write a mechanism for this output file to writing mechanism. So we can select any from that list of 8 classes, right? We have created a list of 8 classes. From this, which item will print the data into the file as a string? Scanner is only taking the data, only input. only input. Print writer is there or file writer is there. Buffer reader is reading. Understand the difference. Writing means here right now we require the mechanism of writing a data into the file. For that we can use file writer or print writer. We will use file writer. So how can I create file writer object? File writer equal to new file writer. Then what we have to pass here? In scanner we pass input file. Here we have to write the object of, pass the object of output file. Getting my point? What is the problem here? Scanner also we kept in try catch block, right? Here this also we have to keep in try catch block. This we have to create outside. Same whatever we did in scanner, here we have to do that. Correct? Done? Then, so I have created the object. Scanner also we created the object. After that what we have did? We started taking the data, right? So here also we created the object of file and file writer. We have to start working on the writing process. How can I write a file? Okay, also one thing is there. This we have lot of variants of constructors for this file writer. If you have to update, like consider you have a file. You don't have to update, you don't have to remove any data from the file, but you have to add some data. What is that process called? Appending, right? Appending some data into that file, right? If you have to do the appending operation, you have to add true, because you can see in the constructor not only file, we have one another variant. Lot of variants are there. In this one another variant is there, file plus, can you see the screen? Boolean append. So if Boolean append, that append part is true, that means file writer data will not be removed. Onto that, like we will add some more data into that one. We will not remove any data from the file, that output file. Whatever data is there, that will be there. Along with that we will add the remaining data. Getting what I am saying? So if you have to do that operation, you have to select this constructor. Otherwise, if you have to just remove all the output file data and you have to update the data, entire updation, you will remove all the data from the output file and you will add the new data into the output file. If that is the case, then you can use just file. Understanding that variant, two variants, appending or removing, like that operation. For that we can give true. Understanding? So it will, whatever data is there in output will not be removed. On to that we will add some more data every time. Output file comma append boolean data. So I am passing true. That means it will perform the append operation. This true will be assigned to that variable, append variable. We have already seen that constructor, right? See, we have already so that constructor, right? Constructor contains file and boolean data. So I am selecting that and I am giving output file and true. If I am giving true, it will not append the data. For append operation we have to use this, that's it. If I am giving false means what? It will not append the data. So this is one thing. Correct. It will remove all the file and it will update the correct, that is what I am saying. It will remove all the data in the output file and it will update the new data into that output file. it will be same as normal case. Now in normal case also same thing is happening. So we have created file writer class also, like scanner class we have created file writer class also, and we are applying that file writer on the output file. Getting my point? Next what we have to do, writing operation. Correct. Reading operation we are doing here. After performing all the logics, we will find out the result. This result I have to store into output file, not to the console. Correct. I don't have to print that in console. Instead of that, I have to do that in, like, write that in output file. How can I write that? What is the object name of file writer? FW, right? FW dot. Do I have a string write method? String write. Write string is there, right? So we will take that one. String, write string. Write string, then we will pass whatever message we are printing here, that we will pass into that one. And also we have to keep this in try catch block. Yes. Done? Error because initially not initialized. Like in string what we have did.
Let's say for normal variables, if you don't give anything, they will get the default value.
0 you have.
The object,
Here we are using null.
let's say if I'm using scanner, SCN and closure.
In
It's not showing error.
In scanner also I am using null only.
Remove the null.
No, we cannot. We have to initialize something.
Once it will show error.
It will show error. Every time, everywhere. That is why I am giving null there. Then one more line is there. This line also I have to print into the file, right? File. Same thing. Same thing we have to do there. FW dot write string.
For SCN, I'm not getting any error once. Check it.
Which one?
Scanner.
I will check. So this also we have to keep in try catch block. Not a palm. Yes, thank you. Not a palm. Understanding? In that same, this while loop is working for that input file. How many lines are there, that many times this while loop will work. Correct? And each time after finding that palindrome or not palindrome, we are writing that data, output data into the output file. That is what we are doing with the fw.writer. Why we used file writer? Because that is dealing with the string. Why we used a scanner? Because that is also dealing with string. And another classes also we can use buffer reader or print writer for strings. All other are based on bytes, or some are based on characters. So based on the requirement you can choose anything. You can select anything. Understanding? So let's check whether it is working or not. Files are imported. Not right now, it is not imported. Updated or up anything like so I am giving uploaded. Let's run the program. So it is taking some time also, right? So file is created, like already created, that is a message coming from that input file, right? Then file data are uploaded. Let's check the first let's check. Okay, output file is created in our folder. Let's open the output file. It is not showing anything. Why? There is one thing which you have focused while writing the file. One thing is really important while writing the file. After all the operations, you have to close the portal. Writer, you have to close the writer. writer, like what is the object name of that file writer? Whatever the writer concept you are using, that you have to close, then only the value will get updated in our file. So what is the here, what is the object name? FW, right? FW dot close. If you are not doing this operation, then your data will not get updated in the file. FW dot close is an important thing. Not FW, I'm saying any writer object dot close. We have to do that. Let's run the program again. Okay, it is uploaded. Is it coming in here? But everything is coming in the same line. How can I make it is in different line? You have to work out on that one. So I will give you this code. You have to learn this, what is happening here, and tomorrow I will give you one task. For both the batches I will give you one task. On that you have to perform all this operation. Understanding? Yes or no? One second. We have input file, correct, and we have output file. Okay, for input file, for performing that reading operation, we are creating scanner, correct. For output file, to perform the write operation, we are using file writer, because both scanner and file writer is performing string operation. String, like we can take the data as string, we can write the data as string. That is why we are using file input, like for inputting scanner and for outputting file writer. Got the point? First we have to create file, then scanner reading operation, file output writing operation. That is why we are using these 4 classes in our program. After creating this one, I can create this in 2 ways. It can append. Okay, if I am running the same program again, if I run the same program again, what I am getting? The number of data is increased, right? Can you see the repetition? The data is again repeating from here. Understanding what I am saying? That is because of append operation. Already some data are there. That data will not remove, and new data are going to added onto that same file. If I don't have to do this operation, I just have to take out this part, because that is making this append operation. Understanding? Sometimes append operation is really important. We have to identify where we have to use this. So are you understanding that? Then every time this loop is performing the task of taking the data from the file. So this loop is taking each line from the input file, and it will perform the palindrome checking operations. After that, based on the result, if it is palindrome, this will give true. At that time we will write string is pal message, we will write into the file output. File writer dot write that message we are giving. So this will add into the output file. Then again, based on this data, if the data is false, we will add not palindrome. So file writer object dot scanner object dot next line will give you the data, right? So file writer object dot write will add the data into the file output file. Simple logic, same in 2 ways. Understanding what I am saying? So every time it will take one line, check for palindrome, based on that it will add the data into the output file. Again it will take the next line, check the palindrome logic, and add the data, add the result into the output file. Every one by one each data is going to append. So if we are not using append, this logic will not work. Every time it is writing, right? So it should enter all the data. So just focus on this logic. That is the only one thing. At last we have to use file close. Actually, how many lines are there to perform this logic? How many lines are required in this code? Just make a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Correct? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Remaining all are just try-catch implementation, right? Exception handling, right? Understanding what I'm saying? 20, 22, 23 lines are there. Remaining all are just try-catch. So you have to identify. You don't have to type this code every time. Try-catch you don't have to implement. It will automatically generate, right? If you have to handle something, then you can make the change. Understanding what I'm saying? So try to work out this program. I will give you one task. Based on this, I will give you one task tomorrow that you have to do. I will share this. In that protected, I will share. Everything, for everything we have to use this. Because if FW is null, then how we can close? For all the cases it will take.